basically what we're doing here is we are looking at what these Rams players have gotten so far this season and what they're projected for as the season wraps up here. We do have an extra regular season game this year, so records will all have an asterisk over them unless they get hit in week 17. But if you hit them in week 18, there will be a little bit of an asterisk next to it because we get an entire extra game. So will we see some records fall, though? Potentially. Let's take a look at the quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He is completing 67.7% of his passes, a little over 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He is on pace for 5,124 yards. That would make him the first ever Rams quarterback to have 5,000 passing yards in a season. Also, 41 touchdowns, 13.6 interceptions. I didn't really know how to round that. I, of course, wanted to round up, but I also didn't want to round up, so 13.6 is what he's at. Also, the Rams' single-season passing yard record holder is Kurt Warner. In the 2001 season, had 4,830. So Stafford would be on schedule to kind of win that by a game almost. So that extra game seems to be paying off for Stafford there. Running back Darrell Henderson currently has 126 attempts, which is not nearly enough in my humble opinion, for 593 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's also got 23 receptions for 154 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's on pace for 214 attempts, a little over 1,000 yards, 1,008, 8.5 touchdowns. He's also on pace for 39 receptions, 262 yards, and about 3.5 receiving touchdowns. So we could see one or two more potentially out of Darrell Henderson. And these are just projected averages. Of course, these guys could have an explosion and bust away these numbers, or they could also have a slump and not even get near these ones. So keep that in mind as we continue. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp has 85 catches for 1,141 receiving yards already and 10 touchdowns. He's also not fumbled the football yet this season. He's on pace for about 145 receptions. The NFL record is 149, held by Michael Thomas. He is also on pace for 1,949 receiving yards. The current record is 1,964. So he's currently on pace not to hit that record, which is held by Megatron, who had Matthew Stafford throwing him the rock. And he's on pace as well for 17 touchdowns. Wide receiver Van Jefferson he's got 53 receptions, 487 yards, 3 tutties, and he's on pace for 90 catches, 828 yards, 5 touchdowns. So I do think that these numbers will get adjusted a little bit, but I'm not sure necessarily how much higher these averages will go. I don't know if he's going to be sitting at 1,000 yards receiving or not, because you do lose Robert Woods, of course, but you also bring in Odell Beckham Jr. And as we've already seen, that Robert Woods replacement is not Odell Beckham Jr. It's also not Van Jefferson. It's actually Ben Skowronek. So Benny Sko getting it done there. So I think that those Van Jefferson numbers may just be right on track. Let's head over to the other side of the football here. Defensive lineman Aaron Donald's got 3 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 14 quarterbacks hit, and 45 total tackles. 14 QB hits. I get quarterbacks hit. That's a lot of QBs if he's hitting that many people. But it is just those few that we've played. The 10 that we've played, he's hit them 14 times. He's on pace for 5 pass deflections, 1.7 forced fumbles, so maybe another one. 10 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, 23 QB hits, and 76.5 total tackles. Jalen Ramsey's got 3 picks, 50 tackles, and 8 tackles for a loss. He's on pace for 5 picks, 85 total tackles, and 13.6 tackles for loss. That feels about right for Jalen Ramsey, honestly. I mean, the way he's able to sniff out those like wide receiver screens and those bubble passes and stuff like that, he does a good job of blowing past some blockers and making the play in the backfield. And the final side of the football that we'll look at here is going to be the special teams unit, where Matt Gay has gone 18 of 19, 94.7%. And that's on field goals, and he's also missed 1 extra point out of 30. He's got 83 total points. He's on pace for 30.6 out of 32.2. I didn't really know how to do the math there, but that is what he's technically on pace for. He's also on pace for 141 points. For reference, for you guys, in 2017, Greg Zuerlein had 158 points. That was the year that we were on record watch for Jeezy, and then had a little bit of a gap there where he just wasn't scoring that much. He'd get maybe like a field goal and an extra point, but there was a time there where he was getting like 3 field goals and 4 extra points, like he was just loading up. So He did end up going a little bit further down, and I want to say that was like, what, 12th all-time? Maybe it was further down than that, actually. But that is the Rams record, 158, or that's what Jeezy had in 2017. Punting the football, we got Johnny Hecker, one of the longest tenured Rams, did play for the St. Louis Rams. And if you guys have not seen this dude perfect video, I mean, first of all, where have you been? Because it's really old. We were St. Louis Rams then. But check that out, because it's really cool. But Johnny Hecker has 29 punts on the season for 1,249 yards. He's got a 43.1 average. He is 54th all-time in punt yards and 5th all-time in yards per punt. What does that tell you? Well, that he's got one heck of a leg on him, and we don't use him as much as some other teams use their punters, I would say, because he's 54th all-time, and we've had him for quite a while. He's on pace for 49 punts, 2,123 yards, and I'll be for reference for you guys, the Johnny Hecker did have 4,680 punting yards in 2016, which was a 4-12 season for the LA Rams. So not a dope one. Not a dope one. But you know what? It is all good. But he's about to not even hit half of that this season. But I think that's a good sign for our offense, because that 2016 season, that was the Keenum Goff year. Jeff Fisher's final year as the Rams head coach, and it was just not a dope one, even though we started 3-1 that season. I remember that too. It was like 2017 we started 3-1. It was like, this just feels better. Like this is a better 3-1. We're better at 3-1 now than we were at 3-1 last year, and that made perfect sense. And don't you try to tell me that it doesn't, because it absolutely does. What the heck are you guys still doing here? The show's over, man. The show's over. All right, okay. Easy with the attitude, first of all. This side over here, that's going to be subscribed. If you have not already, please do that. If you liked this clip, and if you're watching this part of the video, I'm assuming that you at least kind of like it, full podcast is going to be over here. Peace! Go Rams!